Good evening, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good night, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, the following is a collection of news from Patriots. Let's get into the news this late Sunday night. And once again, Dr. Jill, Nurse Biden had to jump into action. She had been missing from his side lately. And because of that, he has been all over the place. He has really lost his bearings, of course, looking for people that are no longer alive in the crowd of places of people, then looking for them, and of course, always exiting at the wrong side of the stage and can't figure out where he's supposed to go. So finally, the White House aides decided to go ahead and, hey, chill. We need you back over here, because this guy has no idea where he's at, because he is our puppet, who continues to sit there and does what he's told. However, his brain is so far gone, he has no idea where he heck he is most of the time. So let's go and dive into what we have here. This is Dr. Jill nudges it confused Joe Biden off stage. It's happening more and more regularly. Folks, Joe Biden has completely shot Bill or Joe, and Jill Biden on Friday hosted their reception to celebrate the Jewish New Year. Kamala Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff also attended the celebration in the East Room. Biden delivered a brief remarks before exiting stage left. But he got lost and needed in Trump Dr. Nurse Joe Biden. So let's take a look at what happened here. Yep, that's the way you got to go that way. It's quite terrible. We deserve this as a country, as what we've gotten from this guy really provides how far our country has fallen. He's a perfect example, what we should not strive for. And I really, truly hope that this guy will get his justice service and he will eventually be removed from office and try for the many crimes he has. Unfortunately, I don't think that will happen with him. They'll play some BS card as he is too incompetent to stand trial. Who knows? But just another example of how bad this guy has gone. Of course, Joe Biden had a tough week by the mumbled through remarks on Thursday, and appeared to forget his name of his own female administration. After delivering remarks, Joe Biden wandered off on that podium, and he did that earlier this week to Jackie Where's Jackie. Joe Biden said about Representative Jackie Wardski, who died in a car accident just a few months ago. Joe Biden's cognitive decline is so bad that at least 6 different reporters asked Kareem Jean-Pierre Diversityhire about Biden's confusion over Wardski. These moments of confusions are happening with increasingly frequency when reporters had this week. It was such a chaotic press conference that she went off the rails because all the questions were coming in were about Joe Biden's mental health, as it should be. This should have been elected number 1 issue in the primary submission, and then the number 1 issue during the campaign. However, the media was in the bag for Biden and the Democrats, and they were going to do whatever they need to do to ensure that the Orange Man would not return back to the White House. And 2022 was the year that keeps on giving. If Republicans manage to take the House in the Senate, and we get mass outcry of liberal cheers, it's going to be a golden gear culturally. And politically, of course, there's the whole recession thing and the Biden economy thing and all the other nonsense. But in terms of the cultural and political pendulum shifting, it feels like we're at the end of an era, and we're moving into the next. It seems almost as if it's the end of a left-wing, liberal New World Order era. I honestly like to think of it as the Obama era, after Afghanistan and Iraq and the failures of George Bush. What was then a more conservative world collectively moved towards the left, with Obama being that iconic figure. Liberals made massive gains across the board, especially culturally. And now it feels like we're at the end of that era. And we are shifting into a new conservative age where conservatives became the counterculture, reformed their image a little bit less Mitt Romney-esque and a little bit more punk rock, if you know what I mean. And 2022 seems to be that year where it's all coming together. And one of the greatest signals, at least for me, is the end of the left-wing legacy media and all of their figureheads. Folks, today we have another massive story, another massive development, as Trevor Noah is officially out at The Daily Show. How many leftist talking heads have fallen in the year 2022? I don't know, I've lost count at this point. But another one bites the dust. Let's talk about the failing left-wing legacy media. Here we go. Alright, folks. So here's the headline: Trevor Noah leaving The Daily Show. Source: Trevor Noah, who began The Daily Show as a recurring contributor in 2014 and was elevated to host, taking over from Jon Stewart in 2015, is leaving the series. A source tells Decider the news was announced earlier tonight to his audience and came as a surprise to staff. The announcement will air in tonight's episode, which will be broadcast on Comedy Central at 11 p.m. Eastern. The news was later confirmed by Variety, who obtained a statement from the network. And now, of course, everyone's going to say that Trevor Noah just wanted to move on, to which I'm going to respond with total BS. The fact of the matter is very simple here. Trevor Noah led The Daily Show into the gutter when it comes to ratings. He was a complete disaster, initially taking over the show in 2014, which was a terrible decision at the time. As I've mentioned many times, folks, I grew up watching The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. I've been politically obsessed since I'm 15 years old. I never missed a single episode of The Daily Show with Jon Stewart in real time with Bill Maher as I was growing up, and the decision to pick Trevor Noah as the successor to Jon Stewart was a disaster from the start. Frankly, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, I think it was a woke diversity hire decision at the time. John Oliver was clearly the right choice to make. He took over, I think, for a week as Jon Stewart was leaving. And frankly, I'm gonna be completely honest here, John Oliver was a better host than Jon Stewart, even though he's far left and has gone completely off the rails these days. Objectively, in terms of his charisma, his cadence, his comedy, his delivery, he was better than Jon Stewart and clearly better than Trevor Noah. He also had a long history with the show. Then Trevor Noah shows up for like a couple of months, and all of a sudden they give him the damn show. The decision was a disaster to begin with. And it's no surprise that it's now failed. It's another classic example of get woke, go broke. And not only get woke, go broke, but moving away from comedy. I mean, even in this article that I'm reading to you from The Decider, they write, in response to the change, ratings on the former powerhouse dropped precipitously, and the relevance of the once omnipresent Daily Show seemed to fade. However, over time, and particularly during the pandemic, Noah began to form his own point of view and became a trusted voice in his own right, perhaps less with comedy and more with biting, pointed takes that took the form of video op-eds. They took The Daily Show from political humor, satire and comedy to leftist propaganda, pointed leftist takes. Yeah, that's not what people signed up for, an unfunny host who's doing a comedy show just pushing garbage talking points and garbage left-wing propaganda. Not to mention he was never the right man for the job, he was put in the position regardless. But it's the end of an era. The far-left Daily Show is now done. Is it any surprise that The Daily Show was a complete failure? No, of course it isn't. And is it any surprise that as Bill Maher is going more and more anti-woke and actually calling out left-wing hypocrisy, that his show continues to run strong again? It's no surprise, it's no coincidence. Is it any surprise that Stephen Colbert's show continues to tank, and Fox News' as Godfeld continues to dominate the ratings in late night? Is it any surprise that the legacy media is failing, whether it's CNN, MSNBC in their various hosts, from Joy Reid to Rachel Maddow at MSNBC to pretty much every single top primetime host at CNN, as Fox News and other right-leaning conservative networks, as well as just neutral outlets? And neutral networks continue to do just fine. You know, these cases aren't individual, they're not within their own little boxes. It's all connected to the greater picture, which seems to be the end of the woke left-wing era. People are sick of it. They're sick of turning on CNN and seeing nothing but biased left-wing spin being shoved in their face. They're sick of turning on SNL and getting political lectures. They're sick of turning on The Daily Show, which of course has historically been a left-wing show, but they're tuning into the show expecting comedy, and instead they're getting lectures on mud democracy or some other crap like that. People are opting for independent creators on YT. They're opting for Greg Gutfeld shows. They're opting for real time with Bill Maher, who's going to at least be fair. You know, say what you want about Bill Maher. I don't agree with a lot of the things that he says. There are some things that I agree with him on, but just the fact that he's fair, just the fact that he's willing to go after both sides with his comedy makes the show decent. It makes it watchable. I still watch Real Time with Bill Maher on occasion. And of course we cover a lot of his segments on this YT channel because it's not woke partisan propaganda trash. It's decent. It's funny, even when he's going after right-wing, or sometimes even if you're a conservative. If you're being fair, you can laugh at your own side, while the left, of course, we know can't do this. If Trevor Noah was to ever go after Democrats, oh, it'd be the end of the world. Now what in it? And no wonder this fake garbage show has failed. No wonder CNN, which is basically the same thing as The Daily Show, is also failing. How many network hosts have they fired? The left-wing legacy media is failing. And actually, speaking of CNN and the end of an era in this shift, that we're seeing left-wing partisan hack Chris Wallace, his new show Bob's post dismal viewership for debut episode, and so probably don them on Chris Wallace, Anderson Cooper, Jim Acosta, Jake Tapper. A good chunk of those fellows are probably next on the chopping block as this era comes to an end. And of course, in the end, the inevitable end, I believe, will be independent media. People are sick and tired of the legacy media. YouTube content, Twitter content, Rumble content, Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform it is growing. Even Twitch and YouTube Live, and the legacy media monster will come to its inevitable demise. That is happening. What we're currently seeing now is just the beginning of Trevor Noah is gone. I don't feel the least bad about it. I feel it's totally deserved. And all I gotta say here is good riddance. And now, are going to ban assault weapons again. I'm gonna do it again as a Marxist crazies, people who are not being supported by us trying to take away our rights. Why such a push to ban assault weapons? Okay, the Second Amendment was not passed. The original intent of the Second Amendment was not for home defense, like we think of it now against common criminals. It was for political criminals and tyrants. It was there to defend Americans against tyrannical governments. And of course, we have our right to go hunting to protect ourselves against thieves, robbers, rapists, crooks, violent trespassers, and non-violent trespassers alike, to protect our domain, our castle. That's why there's castle doctrine, castle domain doctrine. It's focused, I say. I think I haven't looked. I have trouble mentioning, even saying to myself inside my head, I'm not gonna worry. That's enough. That's enough of why Joe Biden said just that he wants to get rid of our guns, or assault weapons ban. And of course, they can misconstrue what an assault weapon is to remember what those assault weapons are for. And now we've got this from CNN reporting. First on CNN, election workers to be trained to deal with violence at polls as midterms approach. Let's see, the violent comes from the left. And it comes from FBI operatives, Ray Epps and crew. Why would federal officials be worried about violence on Election Day? And is Election Day also a BLM, peaceful gathering day? Is it an Antifa? Bring your support animal and your teddy bear day. I mean, those are the ones who are really the domestic threats. Federal officials are offering state and local elected officials training to safely de-escalate confrontations and violence ahead of November's midterm elections. According to an email to election workers obtained by CNN, of course, CNN, this was leaked to CNN to formulate a narrative. The move underlies the level of concern ahead of upcoming elections and comes in response to a steady stream of violent threats and harassments that officials have faced since 2020. Much of it from people who falsely claim that the vote was marred. I'm quoting CNN, folks. YouTube, I'm quoting CNN, and that's what CNN is saying. The advice is going to come from people that weren't happy with the results from a couple years ago. The training includes non-confrontational techniques for dealing with angry voters because people are going to go angry and they're going to take it out on an election. This is what they're saying. I don't believe this. But this was a people are mad from 2020. They're gonna go and take it on election workers in 2022. Of course, they're trying to villainize poll watchers and people looking for shenanigans. What you do is you go after the messenger, not the crime, not the message itself. So Republican poll officers or people who may cry foul of things they don't like, well, they're going to be labeled as violent people and people that need to be de-escalated. You see what we're trying to do here, folks? They're up to something. And when perhaps they're caught, they're going to villainize the whistleblowers and the people catching the cry. They're told how to work in an emergency response situation and work with law enforcement. This training is coming from the Homeland Security's Cyber and Infrastructure Safety Agency that told us that the most secure and safe election ever took place. Personal safety is paramount. CISA said, the current environment is arguably much more complex than it's ever been for election officials who are doing the important work of securing their election infrastructure and protecting our democracy. Gosh, I wish I could comment more on that, but I can't because of this platform. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Give me your thoughts below.